every once in a while too.
Thank you. You did say maybe, so I'm not going to hold you to it, but anytime that you come by, it would be great, because I know that you know a lot of stuff that I might not know, and you might not be in charge of it anymore when you're retired, but your experience and information and friendship is extremely valuable. So thanks, Carla. Welcome, Christine Jones. I am Christina Dillabo. I'm the Director of Communications for the Desert Southwest Conference. Thank you again for everyone that has joined me today for Tuesday Talks. Today is July 19th. It is 10 a.m. And this is a weekly meeting for church communicators. That could be the pastor, it could be a layperson, a brand new volunteer at your church. So everyone is welcome, and questions are awesome. Ideas, tips. Sometimes I try to share information that I've gathered from the general church, from my own experience, from other churches. And I can't say it's always the perfect and best information out there. That's the goal. But I fully recognize that there's always new things coming out and better ideas and better ways to do things. So if any of you ever have that information, please chime in, share, so that everyone gets it as well. Okay, so today we are going to start with, I already included in the email, but sometimes it's helpful to just go ahead and read it out loud so it really fully digests. So Billie Fidlin is our Director of Justice and Outreach, and she's going to be working with the Phoenix Police Department. She's trying to build, she wants to try to be a resource for our churches as they navigate questions about, what can we do? What can't we do? When should we call the police? When do the police need us? When do they need to talk to us? So when she talks to them, she works with a lot of our churches, so she may have a decent listing of what she's looking for to try to help churches, but of course, she can't know every single context or what's going on right now with your church, if there's any struggles or whatever. So anything at all that comes to your mind that may be something that, if you were able to talk to the police chief and ask them any questions for your church's sake to make sure that we're not breaking any laws, we're not in violation of any policy, that, maybe we're going to start something new, is this okay to do? Any of those items, please send an email to Billie Fidlin. I included her email in the invitation that I sent, and I'll include it again in the follow-up notes. Reach out to her, ask her your question. You don't even have to say which church it is if there's any concern. Just send her an email with your question so that she can have that information ready and have it available for other churches. All righty. Any questions about that so far? Okay. And then I think she is going to be joining us in a future Tuesday talk to provide some of those answers, or to kind of do a forum of question and answer type thing. So you'd be able to ask them down the road as well. Okay, so I had quite a few questions, particularly from one church, but it was just a lot of different great aspects. So the first part was about guidance for their church branding. They were looking for crisp logo, the cross and flame logo for their church. And I think that they were going to try to create their own stuff, and that's certainly okay to do. The first thing that I want to share about that is anytime that a church is going to use the cross and flame to create a brand new logo, you do have to reach out to GCFA and share the logo and request permission to make that the official logo, because that is a trademarked copyright graphic, the cross and flame. So anything at all that we're going to do, with the only exception would be is if you're creating a brand new church logo that follows the brand guidelines, where your artwork, your text, whatever is not touching the cross and flame, that it does include the copyright symbol, that it has the margins that are required, that you're using the right colors, then it's fine. You're following their guidelines. You're just creating your own version of what the United Methodist Church is giving permission for churches to do. It's only when you're going to do some deviation, if you're going to use different colors in the cross and flame, if you're going to have text going around the cross and flame, there's so many different variations out there. I'm sure you've seen them, and maybe your church has it. So it's not a big deal. You just have to email the General Commission on Finance and Administration, and I will include the direct email in the follow-up notes, so you've got it in case you're looking to do something creative with your church logo. But I'm going to share my screen real quick to show you. Here we go. Let's see here. So this page, I'm going to send you the link to this one. If you're not really sure, like, what am I talking about with the denominational branding and the spacing requirements and the colors and all that business. So this page explains that really well. It does link to the brand manual and the whole at a glance stuff. You can download the logo, the cross and flame logo, or if you wanted one that has the brand promise, there it is. But the other part is, and here's a little bit more about the usage guidelines, is that the United Methodist Communications Department, so that's not Desert Southwest Conference, but we could always help, but the general church will develop a United Methodist branded logo for your church at no charge. That's like this. This is what I'm talking about. If you were going to use the cross and flame with your church name, following their guidelines, if you did this on your own, you don't need to contact the General Commission on, I hope I'm saying that right, whatever, GCFA. You don't have to contact GCFA if your logo looks like this. It's only if it's deviating from this and the text is way closer to the cross and flame or anything like that, where or different colors, that you would need to contact them to ask permission. If your church is already doing something like this, but maybe you don't have crisp logos, maybe it's a JPEG that, maybe you're the new communicator there and you inherited it because somebody else did it a long time ago and it's looking kind of fuzzy, or man, I sure wish it had a transparent background. You don't have Adobe Illustrator or something else to create it. That would be another time where you could just go ahead and contact United Methodist Communications and have them create a brand new set. One of the cool things about it, besides it being free, is that they also create not just the logo itself, they will create like the stationery for you that has that logo, the like the envelope, I think, what else was it? They can create it in different formats. It's all part of like their standard, like maybe for social media, it's a square shaped logo. I can't remember how else they do it, but if you're looking for that, just reach out to them. And like I said, it's free. So there you go. I'm going to include that in there. Any questions about that one? I'm going to check my notes to make sure I covered everything that I needed to about that. Okay, so guidelines, I mentioned about that you have to use the little trademark. Unless you had permission to use the cross and flame without the trademark, that's fine. Does the conference has, okay, the usable digital logos, I showed you where to get that. And then, okay, so the guidelines about social media, that was another part of the church's question, because they wanted to, spice up their social media game, I guess. And yes, the Desert Southwest Conference does have official guidelines that were developed by the Commission on Communication many years ago. It is way overdue to revisit that because the guidelines are pretty out of date. There's still some great points in there. Like if you just look at it as an umbrella, it's using kind of like the Wesley way of do no harm, stay in love with God, and I'm forgetting one. Boy, I am United Methodist too. Anyway, so I will include the guidelines. I'll send that to you all so you can review it. Just please keep in mind that they are outdated. So things like TikTok isn't mentioned in there. I don't remember what else was in there, but you'll see it needs to be updated, and it will be. We do have a highly functional Commission on Communication now that will be looking at that in the near future. And once it's all finalized, I will make sure that every one of our churches have a copy of it. There's still guidelines. So it's not church law. It's not the conference telling your church what you can and cannot do. They're just recommendations, things to be careful of, tips to ensure a successful future with your social media. For example, the tip that I shared last week about adding me or a second staff person on your church's social media account as an admin, just as a safety, not as additional responsibility for anybody, but just so that in case something happens to one person's account, maybe they got hacked, maybe they're no longer with the church, whatever the reason is, you have someone else as a backup that they can go in and not necessarily be the new admin, but assign someone else to be a new admin. So that's all it would be if you added me as your church Facebook or Twitter or whatever admin. I'm not going to go in and do anything in there. I'm just a backup so that if anything ever happened, you lost access, I could help assign access to whoever else at the church needs to provide, to have as an admin. Yes. And similar, I highly recommend that you add communications at dscumc.org as an admin on your church's website. Again, I'm not going to be going in there and doing anything. It just gives us a way to help your church if you lost the website for some reason, things got locked up, or like last week, I helped a church where they lost their whole menu, their top menu. And it was really just like a 5-minute fix, but and I can't guarantee that we'll always be able to fix it. People like David Topping here is a great resource for all of us. Sometimes he can figure it out and get it fixed. So adding communications at dscumc.org as an admin on your website is just kind of a fail-safe, just a nice little security measure. Then the other thing I want to share about that is, because this church was also looking to potentially redo their website, and they were asking about recommendations. Does the conference do any hosting? What templates are out there that are UMC branded? So if you hadn't heard of it, UMC Churches is, I'm going to share my screen again. There we go. Is the resource provided by the general church. So United Methodist Communications provides both UMC Churches, which is a website hosting. It's also the web, I don't know, what is it? Not exactly developers, because it's WordPress sites, but and they can provide branded emails. They can help launch the website now for you. It includes training. So you can see here. Well, there's more information there, but it's fairly reasonably priced too. Where's the pricing on here? Well, of course, I don't see it now. Mobile ready.
Website services.
I click on website services. Thank you. Here we go. Thanks, David.
No problem.
So there you go. That's how much it costs. This is for the whole year. Well, this one's one time. That's
per website. There's
thank you. Go ahead, David.
The first one is sorry. The first one is a brand new build, like from scratch. The second one is where they kind of help remodel or revitalize a site, and so that's why. So, and those prices are both the same, but they're slightly different, services, slightly different purposes. And I haven't looked into the security one, but that could be a good thing. I bet they make sure, oh yeah, they keep your site
Oh,
updated. I bet they might even install like a firewall plugin and that sort of thing. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, they use what's called Word Fence, which is a good uh, uh, security plugin. So
Yeah.
those are some. Yeah, I'm excited that they've added this, and I'm hopeful to. I think there might be one or two of our local churches who are going to take advantage of this. I'd like to see how happy they are once that gets done.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, David.
Okay.
So don't forget that there is, I mean, especially for those churches that are using something like Drupal, there is an easier way. It doesn't have to be, I know sometimes you've got a volunteer maybe or a staff member that they are the web person and only they know how to go in there and do things. The nice thing about going through umcchurches.org, like you said, it includes training. So you could have multiple people trained, and WordPress is a very user-friendly platform. So that's my 2 cents about it. I highly recommend it if you're thinking about going with a new design for your website. It's affordable. Going through UMC churches, it's affordable, and they already have some UMC branded stuff in there. So it makes it much nicer, easier for your church. Okay, questions about that? Anything else? Okay. Now, the last thing that I didn't include in my email, but I may have to, I don't know. Okay, so last week I had a church that was struggling with getting their church up in GuideStar. And, they went through all the whole process. They went to guidestar.org. Well, no, they started out with the umgroupruling.org page where you can get your customized, let me share my screen. There we go. So if you haven't seen this before, your church could use it. This is one way that your church can take advantage of nonprofit discounts. It's basically getting an official document about the group ruling for your church to be a part of the United Methodist Church, like denominational tax exempt ruling. And so using this application, I'll just go ahead and click through it. You'll need things like your EIN number for your church. You might need, I don't remember, I think you need some contact information. So you enter the EIN letter there. There's a bunch of information about it. And, well, I guess once you put it in there, then it takes you to a new screen where you can enter other information about your church, like who the contact person is. The information that you put in this new screen that I can't show you because I don't have an EIN number to show you, it's really important that you use an email address that you can access. Don't use like the info at blah, blah, blah church if you don't have access to it and the person that can access it is on vacation somewhere and not responding. It needs to be an address that represents your church and that you can access, or maybe it's your church admin that can access it and you're working with your church admin. David, you want to share something?
Would you like to see an actual example of what you get back? I have one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
I'll do it. Here, let me pull up the right thing. There it is. Group ruling letter. Here it comes. Okay.
Thank you.
So once you submit, they send you this a link to a PDF, and it certifies that our church isn't included. Shows our EIN number. That's just the cover letter. The real important thing is, after a blank page, is this scan from the Department of the Treasury, IRS. And it shows, going back to 1974, that the GCFA has been ruled as like a whole umbrella, because it covers all, it says right here, General Conference, Judicial Council, general agencies, commissions, committees, their divisions and departments thereof, and other related organizations, jurisdictional conferences and affiliated agencies, commissions, and other organizations, annual conferences and divisions and departments thereof, annual conference agencies, commissions, committees, and affiliated organizations, and finally, local churches and local church agencies, commissions, committees. So we're all under the same umbrella. Now, some local churches, however, do have a separate 501c3 if they have like a foundation or a preschool or something that they've separately incorporated. So,
okay. Thanks, David. I have noticed in the past that sometimes when you're filling out that application on GCFA's website, there may be some issues. No, wait, it's not at that. So when you're filling out that application and you can enter information about your church, there's also kind of a descriptor, I guess, or information that, do you want them to go ahead and create, what is it, to share this information with GuideStar? I think that's what they say. So they're doing this first step for you. And then when you go into GuideStar, there could be a problem there if, let's say my church's name is Christina of the Dillabo UMC, but I commonly refer to it as Christina Dillabo UMC. So I go into GuideStar. The first thing you do in GuideStar is I'd have to create my own like person profile, not my church profile, but my person profile. And then I can start creating a church profile. After I remember, I think it's like 8 days that GCFA says it'll take to load it onto GuideStar, but whatever email address you entered when you first were filling out that application, that email address is going to get a notification from GCFA to let you know, okay, it's all done. GuideStar has the information. That's when you should go to GuideStar. Don't try to go before then, because your church might not show up. You know, they maybe haven't finished processing everything. So that's one key to what might be going wrong if you're having a difficult time with GuideStar and creating a profile for your church. The second thing that could be wrong is, as I was starting to get into about the name deviation, be careful that you are using the name that is shown on that official document that was sent to you, that PDF that David just shared. If my document says it's like Desert Southwest Conference, for example, our legal name is not Desert Southwest Conference. I believe it's Desert Southwest Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. I think that's the whole thing. So it's important to use that legal name, because that would be another hiccup in why is my church not populating? What's another thing? Well, the church that I worked with last week, it looked like everything was done right. We're using the right name, but she hadn't received an email yet from GCFA saying that everything was processed, you're good to go. So we're hoping that it was just a timing issue. But yeah, it was kind of a big circle loop and trying to get it all done and checking everything. So don't get frustrated. There is help. You can reach out to GCFA to find out, hey, what's going on? Because right when you submit it all, you do get like a confirmation email. So my recommendation for that church was respond back to that confirmation email and ask in that same string, because then they'll have all the other information about your church. To see what's going on. Do I need to keep waiting? We're not seeing our church on GuideStar. But I just know that from when you first fill out the application, there is a notification that you need to get, that GCFA is going to notify you when it's all ready. And that church hadn't received that notification yet. So I think it was just a little bit of a hiccup there. Oh, thank you, David. So the last piece, because that got me back on track, David just shared a link to the conferences profile on GuideStar, so I'm going to share that. So after, let's say everything's working out well, I created my profile, I was able to look up Desert Southwest Conference on GuideStar because the information was submitted. Then the last piece is that you need to claim your profile. And at that point, I think that's when it'll start working, where GuideStar can basically talk to Facebook or whoever else about this organization. So I don't know, maybe none of you need this right now. Maybe you've all already done it. But if you haven't done it yet, I highly recommend that you get it started, because when you need it, it'll be nice to have all of this done, because it does take a little while. So churches that are thinking about doing online giving with something like Tidely, I think that they were getting some kind of a discount for being a nonprofit. I think that's why we needed. Do you remember, David? What was the deal with Tidely?
Yeah, I think, yeah, if you, I forget what proof they require though. But yeah, the Tidely thing, I think you can have it basically for free if you are,
Yeah,
not, I mean, other than their fees that go with each
correct.
transaction.
Yeah. But with Tidely, the reason why we sometimes recommend Tidely for churches, if they don't have a situation already with their church, with their bank, Tidely works well for churches because it offers the option to have your donors pay for the fees up front. So then the church doesn't miss out on anything. So I'm sure others do something like that as well, but it was kind of a nice option. Thanks, David. I said thanks because David also included the link to Tidely in the chat, and I will include that in the follow-up to everyone. I don't have anything else. Does anyone else have something to share? No? Okay. Go ahead, David.
I missed it at the very beginning when you were talking about the churches and the police and that, but I do have some real quick direct experience with that. Back in the day, Jody and I were at a local church that had a fair amount of street traffic at night, unwanted people on the property at night and that kind of thing, and camping out. And so we went through the process with the Phoenix police about getting permission to have them arrest people if needed, as a last recourse. Because if you don't set that up with your local police, they are sometimes a little bit hamstrung or tied up in terms of what they can do. So that was part of that whole process. And so we went through that, and you have to renew that every once in a while. And you have to follow certain guidelines about notifications on your property, about trespassing and all that kind of stuff. So it can be a useful process to go through, just so you have recourse. You try to minister to those people who come onto your property, you try to work with them, but sometimes we're not the best people to deal with that. So that's that.
Thanks, David. That's a great example of this sort of thing my whole spiel in the beginning was just to contact Billie Fidlin to let her know, here's what we're worried about, here's what we're dealing with. I'd love some advice about blah, blah, blah. So that was a great example. Hopefully that'll get people's juices flowing to think about what they might need to find out from the police department. So send your situation, your question, whatever, to Billie Fidlin, and she'll develop some type of training resource or email you back. I don't know, but she is going to be one of the newest ways that she'll be a resource to our churches is by providing that guidance about, well, here's what the police would say about something like that. Now, I don't think I have anything else. The last thing, I guess, is just a quick reminder to send us your stories, whatever it is that might be going on at your church. That could be like a newsworthy thing, something. It doesn't have to be a brand new thing that your church is doing. It could be something that you have been doing for years and years and years. And, maybe there's something unique about it. Maybe you had incredible success. So that's a great story that we need to get out there, both for publicity for your own church, but as inspiration for other churches of, hey, here's a way that you could do the same ministry you're doing, maybe, but in a bigger way, in a new way, whatever the situation is. Maybe it's a brand new ministry for some of our churches. So send those stories. Jeremy's going to be working on another story coming up here, and I'll have information about that pretty soon. But I can share with you that the work he did at Mission Bell, he's got like 50 pictures that he's going to clean up and share with the church so they can use it for their website, social media, whatever, but he's going to use some of those pictures. He's writing a press release that he's going to send out to all of the local news agencies in Arizona about Mission Bell. He did some video. He's going to create a little clip that the church can use for social media, that the conference can use about the church. He's going to write an article for the conference newsletter to let other churches know, well, here's the way Mission Bell, this tiny little church, can do the incredible work of feeding, I think it's either 400 meals a month. How they're able to do that, what is their secret sauce. Stay tuned. You will need to be subscribed to the conference news to get that information. That's all I've got to share. I hope to get some more story leads from y'all very soon so we can get those lined up. We're looking specifically for small churches doing big things. That would be a great way to keep going with, because that's the second story too. It's another small church doing really big things. I don't want to give away anything of what they're doing yet, but information is to come. So be sure to subscribe. Go to dscumc.org/subscribe to get the conference newsletter or all sorts of different options of newsletters that you can receive. Okay, getting way too long-winded. Have a great rest of